Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I've got some updates for you this morning. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Hope you're all good. I'm lighting my candle this morning. Um, yeah, I've got breaking news, which is very sad news, but nice in one way that the families of these women are going to get closure because the bodies have been found of the missing mums, the missing Kansas mums. So let's have a look at the police had arrested 4 people. We looked at that yesterday. This is thought to be a custody battle, isn't it? The result of a custody battle. We've got a mum called Veronica Butler who was going off to pick up her children from the grandparents, from the grandmother, as her ex-partner, is in rehab. And she set off with a friend or somebody who was one of the authorised people to assist her with, changing over the children, Gillian Kelly. So we have Veronica Butler and Gillian Kelly went off to pick up these children for a birthday party. Never got there. And then their car was found abandoned out in the wilderness just a few minutes from the garage, from like the truck stop type place where they were supposed to swap over the children. Then over the weekend, 4 people were arrested after, the police knew immediately there'd been there was a crime scene. There was blood, puddles of blood. The police felt that they had been shot. And then they did arrest the grandmother, a friend of hers, and a couple. They arrested Tiffany Adams, the grandmother, Tad Cullum, who seemed to be some sort of friend of hers, and Cole and Cora Twombly. So 4 people were arrested on suspicion of murder. And now the breaking news is that the women's bodies have been found, which, believe me, is a relief, because there were some horrible rumours going around that they'd been fed to pigs and horrible, horrible things that people say on the internet. Anyway, let's just have a look at the news. The news article. Okay.
Just coming into our newsroom, a sad ending. The bodies believed to be the 2 Kansas moms found by police in Oklahoma. This information just coming in right now. 27-year-old Veronica Butler and 39-year-old Gillian Kelly, last seen March 30th. Tiffany Adams, a grandmother of one of the kids, one of the people now arrested after Butler and Kelly disappeared. Let's get straight to News Nation's Nancy Liu live on the ground.
It's awful, isn't it? Imagine a grandmother killing the mother of her grandchildren. Whatever the sort of complexities of the custody battle, whatever the animosity, fancy killing the mother of your grandchildren. How did you think that was going to be good?
For us tonight, Nancy, tell us what you're learning now.
Well, Natasha, it's yet more deflating news for these communities in the Oklahoma Panhandle. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations had told me that they were searching vast areas of rural Texas County for the 2 women. And just minutes ago, we heard from OS.
Sorry, I just want to say, so they've done well to find these bodies, and they said there are vast areas, but they're quite open areas. If you see that landscape behind her, that's very different, isn't it, from where Samantha Murphy is? Where the Australian police are looking for Samantha Murphy. That is a totally different landscape, isn't it?
SBI that, along with the FBI and the Texas County Sheriff's Department, in a joint operation, they have recovered 2 deceased persons in rural Texas County, and both individuals are being transported to the Oklahoma Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to determine identification and cause of manner of death. So that means there is no positive identification that these bodies are Jillian Kelly and Veronica Butler. But of course, this discovery happened.
Look at the difference in that terrain there from the, when the drone goes over the forests in Australia.
This discovery
Different
happened
from that, isn't it?
during their massive search for the two women. We are expecting a news conference tomorrow from the OSBI, and of course, News Nation will bring that to you live. They have provided very little.
So yeah, this has been these are the two women. This has been a very quiet case, if you like. The police have hardly provided any information all the way through it, but all the time they're working behind the scenes. You can never think that just because cases go quiet, there's nothing going on. And they've done well. They've caught who they think are the perpetrators. They've found the bodies, or believed. I mean, it seems likely that there will be these two women, which are they haven't been identified yet, but they have found them, and it looks like it is them. So the police seem to have done well in this case. So yeah, it's just so sad, isn't it? So those, because Gillian has children too, so just these twonks taking people's lives. But the grandmother take the life of the mother of her grandchildren. How could she do that to her grandchildren? Even if she hates this woman with a passion, how could she do that to her grandchildren?
Information about their investigation all along. They have kept things very close to the vest, but this is exclusive video from just yesterday. News Nation on the ground capturing this exclusive footage as they closed in on the 4 suspects who they arrested yesterday, including Tiffany Adams, who is the grandmother to Butler's kids. And it's suspected that
Yeah, look at these twonks. So this is Bob and Cody, I think the name is it? Crumbly? I don't know where they come into it all. Cora, that's it. So it's Cole Twombly is the guy, and this is Cora. Whenever I hear the name Cora, I don't know why, it always makes me think of mass murdering women. I don't know why, it just seems like a typical name that poisoners would have or something. And then of course here we've got Tiffany the grandmother and her friend Tad Cullum, or is it Tad, who there looks like there's drugs involved here, because this guy, there was another photo of him released from only a couple of years ago, and he did not look like that. So he's deteriorated drastically.
Custody dispute may be linked to all of this, what has turned out to be a case of double murder. But again, the breaking news tonight is that 2 bodies have been recovered. There's no positive identification of these 2 bodies. They are now on the way to the medical examiner's office, but these bodies were recovered during the search for these 2 women, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. So yet more deflating news to an already tragic story, Natasha.
Yes, certainly. And I know you've been pointing out all night, Nancy, there are 6 children in all of this left without their mothers, but we appreciate you bringing that breaking update.
So 6 children in total from those 2 women that now don't have a mother. Just disgusting.
Straight to us. Nancy Liu live in Texas County, Oklahoma tonight.
So that's the first bit of breaking news I want to give you. It is sad, of course it's sad, but it looked early on, the police said very early on they thought there was suspicious circumstances, but it's good that they've recovered the bodies, isn't it, at least? But, it's horrible news. It's horrible news. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to let you know about this morning is the new details about the Sydney stabber, and also I wanted to talk about the victims. So 6 people, apart from, I mean 7 if you include him, died because of this shopping centre attack over the weekend. And Joel Cauchi, the perpetrator, seems that he had mental health issues. The police are completely poo-pooing the idea that he had any, terror. It was any terrorist connection, any, that he was targeting anyone in particular. Though it does seem that he did go for women. Women are easier targets, so it's not necessarily been established that he had a thing about women and that he deliberately went for women. For any other reason, that they're just easier to attack, more vulnerable. And the baby, of course, that he attacked, that seems to be okay, in a serious but stable condition. Still, they're saying in hospital. We just have to pray that the little girl survives. But the mother of that little girl is one of the victims who died. So I want to have a look at, I think, first of all, just some more details about him, and then we'll finish with details about the victims, because they are the most important.
Disturbing details of the hours leading up to Joel Cauchi's rampage. As Sydney struggles to process the tragedy, a clearer picture is emerging of the 40-year-old Queenslander's troubled life.
He looks like just another customer, similar to the thousands that have ordered here before, blending in.
He's very thin on this footage, isn't he? When you see the other pictures of him from before, he was a bit more substantial. Apparently he's been living rough for quite a while. He must have been on something. Now, you tell me, but when I looked at this coverage here, this CCTV, he looks like he may be crying. He's reached the end of his tether, but and your heart goes out to anyone with mental health issues who's got to the end of their tether sort of thing, just can't take it anymore. But why take those other people with him? This is what I don't get. If he wanted to unalive himself, but to take and to stab a baby, this is what we can't get our head around, isn't it? Why would you do that? Why, no matter what mental health issues you had, how could it come into your head to stab a baby? How?
Now, but in a little under 5 hours from this moment, 40-year-old Joel Cauchi will do the near unthinkable.
I just feeling lucky because he didn't do anything in the restaurant,
The warning signs were there yesterday, but no one could have predicted what was to come. In the hours before the massacre, he was only 100 metres from the Westfield shopping centre.
Yeah, the thing is, the signs are always there, aren't they, when you look back? But what can you do? Just with someone acting strange, you can't arrest them just for acting strange, can you? And she's right, that woman, they were lucky, because he could have just gone there. He literally could have just got his knife. Apparently his knife was in his backpack as he was ordering that food. There were people in that restaurant. She could be dead. The customers could be dead. He could have attacked anywhere. Though she said she feels lucky. I bet she does. I mean, it feels like you've had a brush with the devil, doesn't it? It's like, you've come that close to hell, really, or to looking into the eyes of hell. Apparently his eyes were black as he went about his rampage. And this woman, as she says, her and her customers, they are lucky, because he could have gone there and then, couldn't he? He could have just snapped there instead of later.
At 10:05, he couldn't pay for his chicken curry at Saigon Noodles in Bondi Junction. Returning 2.5 hours later, he orders the same meal and pays for both.
He just looked like confused, just like, when taking.
That's strange, isn't it? So when he first ordered, he couldn't pay. He went off. He came back 2.5 hours later and paid for the meal that he'd ordered that he couldn't pay for, and another meal. Very odd.
Order is taking like a long, and just okay, I'll just order chicken curry, just like that.
But as he leaves, he appears disorientated and falls into a shop. This man comes to help him up, unaware of what.
Yeah, so he falls over. That guy goes to help him. So he's obviously, I don't know, been drinking or taking some drugs, something.
What he was about to do.
I thought it was drugs. Yeah, I just thought, he looks like a drug affected.
With his face now broadcast across the planet, secrets from his dark past are coming to light.
You know, you'd look at that face. This is what a murderer looks like. You know, we often say this, don't we? There's no look. He looks a bit like Gino D'Acampo, like handsome. You know, this is obviously better times. You know, you just don't know. They walk amongst us, and nobody knows what a murderer looks like.
Cauchi is from Queensland. He's lived in Toowoomba nearly his whole life. Neighbours telling 9 News he was a troubled young man.
He sort of kept to himself. He was quiet, and, you know. But like I said, he didn't mix a lot with other children, I don't think.
He spent recent months in Ipswich and Brisbane, again leaving a worrying mark on those he met, like this man who he used to sharpen 2 of his hunting knives 3 years ago.
Just very, very dry, no real expression on his face. Just looked like he probably wasn't all there.
All before moving to Sydney. He's been here just 4 weeks and 6 days ago appearing healthy and happy, posing with a surfboard. But it was these images his parents saw back in Queensland.
I can say that the family, when viewed footage.
Just imagine sitting watching the telly, this breaking news story that was all over the news, wasn't it, on Saturday? It was just constant coverage. And you sat watching it and then you realise that is your own son. My heart really goes out to his family.
Footage of the event on TV, believe that may well have been their son, and they reached out to authorities.
Late this afternoon, Cauchi's family released a statement. They're devastated, but their thoughts are with the victims. Joel's actions were truly horrific. He has battled with mental issues since he was a teenager. We have no issues with the police officer who shot our son. Online, Cauchi portrayed
just a very sort of brave statement for them to make, because he is still their son, whatever, but they're probably exhausted and at the end of the tether with him if they've had issues with him for so many years. This man, you know, it's like now at least the parents, they don't have to worry. They've probably been worrying about him for years, and now they know where he is. They know where he's gone. You know, that he's no longer on this planet. They don't have to worry about him sleeping rough, or is he taking drugs, or is he doing this, or is he doing that. Aspect, it's been an absolute nightmare for them.
Fun-loving thrill seeker, constantly on the search for friends to surf with, to help him learn Swedish, even fire weapons, particularly handguns. But he lived a double life. An adventurer 1 minute, a male escort the next. His profile appearing on several adult sites, known to police for half a decade, but not as a criminal.
This gentleman was diagnosed with a mental illness at the age of 17 and has had treatment over the years.
So it has come out now that he is schizophrenic, or he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
In recent weeks, Cauchi was living rough, sleeping at a storage shed he'd rented here at a facility in Waterloo, about a 10-minute drive from Bondi Junction. What else is inside, now central to the police investigation?
So that's where he was sleeping, in that storage unit that he'd been renting. Well, I don't know what they found in there.
Also critical, witnesses say they spotted Cauchi on Friday afternoon inside the Westfield shopping centre, 24 hours before the attack, and wearing the same clothes.
He was really agitated. He was looking down over the railing a little bit.
A troubled man who acted alone, committing mass murder inside a Sydney shopping centre on a Saturday afternoon. In Bondi Junction, Alex Heinke, 9 News.
We're going to go now to Sophie Upcroft, who's at Sydney Police Centre for us tonight. And Sophie, what can you tell us about the investigation into Joel Cauchi?
Georgie, detectives here are working with their colleagues in Queensland and the AFP to try and paint a fuller picture of exactly who Joel Cauchi was. And tonight they are looking into any information they can glean from people who knew him, officers who had interactions with him, and those who witnessed his behaviour in the days and hours leading up to the stabbing attack. Police say they are confident that he didn't have any terrorist links or hold any extremist ideologies, but there are many sides to this man and much more to learn. As we go to air, specialist officers are making their way through an incredibly large crime scene, all 7 levels of the shopping centre. Forensics are combing for evidence, detectives scouring through hundreds of surveillance cameras looking for any clues as to Cauchi's motive and what triggered him to spiral so deeply.
That's a massive job, isn't it? You know, because great big shopping centre, so it's a big job for the police. A very big job.
And Georgie, it is likely to take some time before investigators have any concrete answers to those questions.
The first day of school holidays, Westfield Bondi Junction bustling with shoppers, but mingling in the crowd, a man in an Australian Rugby League jersey wielding a hunting knife. We now know who he was, 40-year-old Joel Cauchi, originally from Queensland, who moved to Sydney last month. It was 3:20 yesterday afternoon. There was panic, all captured on a mobile phone. In the distance, you see a shopper fall over as he's chased. He's lucky, able to escape, and we now know why he was running.
Yeah, he was lucky, that guy. I was saying yesterday, he fell over right in front of him, right in front of Joel. And then luckily for him, he was young and he was just up in a moment and off again. I don't think I would have been able to get up, so I think that would have been the end of me. But I wonder why they're blurring this out. They were showing it all clearly yesterday, but today they're blurring it.
Oh my goodness. Another shopper manages to dodge him before a dad protecting his wife and children stares him down. It was one of just countless acts of bravery. He's dubbed Bollard Man, confronting Cauchi on the escalator. A shop CCTV captures his next move. He's looking for more victims.
And it was like an apocalyptic film, everyone just running like a rampage.
And by now, the first police officer is on the scene and she gives chase.
She's a fast runner. I'll say that again. She ran so fast down there, she outran those men.
Not alone, shoppers, one armed with a chair, joins in. You can hear screaming. 45 seconds later, gunshots echo through the complex. Inspector Amy Scott was the officer who took down the killer.
I was behind the police officer when she discharged a firearm, and I have to admit she was amazing. She gave him clear instructions. He lunged straight at her, and she shot him.
But the officer's work was far from done.
She went straight from shooting this guy to giving CPR, and then what she did is she went straight to policing. She moved people away.
And then there was the wounded. The inspector rushed to give first aid. She stopped the carnage and saved lives.
She had no choice. She was alone. He would have killed her.
Do you think she's a hero?
Undoubtedly, without question. Yeah, she was amazing.
The best in this state confronted one of the worst acts we've ever seen.
40-year-old Joel Cauchi was known to police in Queensland for mental health issues.
So thin, his legs so thin on this this video, and it did feel like good meeting evil, didn't it? When it's taking a life, even a life of someone who's doing horrible things like that is difficult. She'll struggle with that. Taking someone's life will be difficult for her to cope with. But what choice did she have? And she saved lives. It does feel like a sort of good meeting evil thing. and it is total, karma, if you like, that he murdered 5 women and stabbed one little girl. There's all females except the security guard. And then he was actually stopped by a woman. I think it is like a poetic justice.
Inquiries into his background have so far ruled out any link to terrorism.
At this stage, we don't know a motive. What we do understand so far is that there's no ideological motivation.
But did he have a target? 5 of the 6 victims were women, with the killer appearing to avoid anyone bigger than him.
That's been reported to me as well, and obviously that will be an obvious line of inquiry.
The New South Wales governor paying her respects, not since 20...
Yeah, avoided anyone bigger than him, and he did avoid the men. But that woman that got him in the end, the police woman, he couldn't avoid her, could he?
14 in the Lint Cafe, has this city been thrust into so much pain and grief? And the public's reaction is precisely the same, coming together as one, mourning, honouring and remembering those victims of one man's deadly rampage.
We don't live here, but our son does, just to let the families of the victims know that we're all deeply saddened.
One of the biggest shopping centres in the country, Westfield Bondi Junction, is now a crime scene on 7 levels.
Well, the thing about this as well is people know that could have been them. That could have been anybody. Sometimes when bad things happen, people do bad things to others and you don't feel so much that it affects you because, of the circumstances. But in this, it could have been anybody, any of us walking through a shopping centre in Australia, in our countries, in our towns. How many times do we go to these kind of shopping centres? Never think, on your day off, like from work, people going shopping, trying to have a relaxing day, having a bit of retail therapy. Could be anyone. I think that's why it will resonate with everyone all over the world, because this could happen anywhere to anyone. And I don't think they'll find a motive with Joel. I don't think he probably had even a motive. He's just literally lost it, I think, unless it turns out that there's more to it, but feels like he's just broken.
Bodies of 5 of the 6 victims were removed. Police now going from shop to shop, gathering CCTV and trying to track his every move.
What stands behind me is a very active crime scene. Investigators have been here overnight and will be here all day today and maybe into the night.
Westfield will open at some point, but it will never be able to erase the horror left in the memories of the many thousands who simply came to shop. In Bondi Junction, Damien Ryan,
look at that.
9 News.
Yeah, they just went shopping. That's it. Okay, so I just want to show you about the victims now. So all the victims have been identified now. The little girl, there's still people in hospital, I think, including the little girl. But the victims that were sadly killed have all been identified.
Yizhuan Cheng, joining the list of victims being...
Sorry, so this is the last victim to be identified. So obviously they will have had to let families know before they can publicise the names of the victims.
6th victim of the Bondi stabbing attack has been identified this hour. Yizhuan Cheng, joining the list of victims being mourned by the entire country.
Communities and flags across the country are being lowered to half-mast across the nation. This is Parliament House in Canberra earlier this morning. And in Sydney, a landmark known the world over right now, honouring the 6 innocent lives taken.
Our reporting team is across all the new developments for you at home this morning. First to Sarah Stewart with that breaking news. Sarah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Carl. We have now identified the sixth victim. She is a beautiful young woman called Yixuan Chang. She is a Chinese national who was here in Australia studying. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any family here in Australia. Police spent the day yesterday trying to contact her family back home in China. She was simply at Westfield on Saturday shopping like everybody else. Now, I can tell you that the 6 people have now been identified that lost their lives. 8 people remain in hospital this morning, including that 9-month-old baby girl. I can tell you that she's just woken up after spending her second night here at the Children's Hospital. Her family have released a statement. They say that she is doing well after extensive surgery on Saturday evening. We know she underwent hours of surgery, but she is in a serious but stable condition here at the Children's Hospital this morning. There are 7 other people in hospital this morning as well. 1 person is in a critical condition. All of the others are listed in a serious but stable condition. And Carl, I can tell you with that confirmation this morning that 3 mothers have been killed in this attack. That means 3 lots of children no longer have their mother.
And do you know, it's just like, I'm fed up of hearing this. You know, oh, do you see, that's it. The acts of violence against women, they leave ripples, you know. These women are leaving behind children, partners, family, but especially children.
Going home. It is simply heartbreaking.
Yeah, it truly is, Sarah. Thank you. Well, let's cross to Jack Hahn at Bondi Junction now with new developments in the investigation. Jack, police are wrapping up their operation there.
Yeah, that's right. Sarah, Carl, good morning to you. The New South Wales Police Force have confirmed that Bondi Junction Westfield is no longer a crime scene, but as you can see from behind me, Oxford Street is closed. Police still here. They are in the process of passing this scene back to the management of Westfield. The only people allowed in are to pick up their vehicles. The stores are still closed this morning. This has been a huge 40-hour investigation. It continues, but here is how Police Commissioner Karen Webb has described the police probe.
Many, and in fact hundreds of exhibits have been seized by police and will be now subject to forensic investigation over the coming days and weeks. In addition, detectives will be interviewing family members for those who died. That will be a slow and painstaking process, as you can imagine.
So multiple investigations are underway this morning, while a criminal investigation is not underway. A report will be prepared to the coroner, and a critical incident investigation is underway into the use of deadly force. Anyone with information should reach out to Crime Stoppers by calling 1800 333 000. Already 50 witnesses overnight have reached out to police.
Thank you, Jack.
Just that news about 3 mothers losing their lives. It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go to Sylvia now, who's at Bondi Junction. That's tough. Sylvia, the attention of the whole nation focused there where you are.
Oh, Carl and Sarah, we are a nation in mourning this morning, and nowhere is it more raw than here in Bondi Junction. This is a community that has been deeply affected by the tragic events of Saturday afternoon. And this tribute to the victims behind me continues to grow this morning. Just minutes ago, a young girl, no older than maybe 10 or 11, came here with her brother and her mother to lay a small bouquet of flowers here for the victims. You could see the effect, you could see the pain and the grief on their faces. This is such a connected community. Everyone around here, and I know plenty of them, knows someone who was here on Saturday afternoon. The ripple effects will be very far and wide for days, weeks, probably months to come. And it's on the front page, of course, of every newspaper this morning. The Sydney Morning Herald with the simple word, senseless, on the front page, along with the faces of 5 of the innocent, bright lives that were taken in this terrible attack on Saturday. We were...
Oh, all those flowers, more people you can see behind the reporter, more people coming with flowers. You know, it's funny with flowers, isn't it? Because people love to lay flowers, and I know some people say, oh, you know, flowers, they only last, you shouldn't cut them, they only last a little while and things, but you know, it just looks so beautiful. I think it's a lovely tribute, and I'm sure they take, I don't know what they'll do with those flowers. Quite often they take them to like old people's homes, don't they, and things like that. when it comes time that they have to pick them all up. I don't know if they'll leave them there or whether they will. You know, it'll come a time when they have to pick them up, and if any of them are still, you know, because some flowers last longer than others, don't they? I'm sure they'll find a good home.
We're joined just moments ago also by New South Wales Police Minister Yasmin Catley, who confirmed to me here on the Today Show that New South Wales Police have now flown to Queensland, where they plan to interview the family of the attacker, 40-year-old Joel Cauchi. They are, of course, hoping to answer the question that everyone has this morning: why did he carry out this horrific attack?
The New South Wales Police will be sending a contingent to Queensland to interview the family. They will not only interview the family, but also New South Wales Health and any of those agencies that Joel.
There's a lot of females in the Australian police, but you know that's a very positive thing. As you know, I don't really particularly like Karen Webb, but you know, at the end of the day, she's a female in a good position, and she's got there, I expect, because she's good at her job. Here's another one. Then you've got the Amy who actually disposed of Cauchi. So yeah, a lot of positive feminine figures here as well.
Has had any interaction with. So that will help form part of the investigation into the why, I guess, and that's really what we need to do.
Strikingly, Carl and Sarah, we have seen a statement from Joel Cauchi's parents who say they have no problem with the actions of the police officer, Inspector Amy Scott, who brought this rampage to an end and fatally shot their son throughout that rampage. They say that they understand she was doing her job to protect others.
Get on him in just a second, but Sylvia, you and I spoke over the weekend, almost immediately after all this started. You live in that area. You would know people who know some of the victims, and your mum. I mean, this is very, very difficult for people who don't have any direct contact, let alone people who do.
Oh, Carl, I'm like everyone in this area who knows people who were here. I know someone who was caught up in this, someone who was injured. I know people who hid in change rooms over the weekend, wondering if they would make it out. And you only have to look at the footage to see how traumatised everyone was. They were running for their lives without knowing which way to go. To see and to hear about.
That's it, exactly. You're running for your life, but you don't know whether you're running into danger, away from danger, or it's just panic everywhere. And yeah, you could be running straight at the knifeman, even if you knew there was a knifeman, because people obviously saw people running around. They're probably thinking, oh my God, what's going on? And with it being Australia, like if it was America, I think straight away people would think there was being a shooting, you know, wouldn't they? But in Australia, this is not a common thing that happens. So they'd be thinking, well, everyone's running. What are they running for? Is it a fire? You know, there'd be lots of things going through your head, and you'd be just follow the crowd, wouldn't you? Really, I suppose you just see it the way everyone was running, and you'd run with them, but you wouldn't know if you're running into danger, away from danger. What a horrible, horrible experience! I bet some of those people they won't even go out again for a long time.
A 38-year-old mother who came to a shopping centre, which is a safe place for a new mum, a place where they can come and find a safe feeding space, a safe changing room, you know, for a baby. This is supposed to...
I think that's so true because, you know, in America now, there are a lot of people go walking around shopping malls, you know, because of the problem of going walking on trails, you know, that you might get attacked or whatever. Quite often I do that. If I feel like having a walk and I don't feel like going to some of the isolated places that I'll go with my dogs, I'll go to the shopping centre and walk around it. I mean, and, you know, looking in the windows as well. But you think of it as a safe place to go. You don't think of it as a dangerous place. When that mum got her baby ready that morning, you know, to go out shopping, she wouldn't have thought in a million years. None of those people, I mean, he's a security guard, the guy, wouldn't have thought in a million years that in a shopping centre you would be at risk. You would feel that you were going to be safe.
To be a safe haven for a new mother. Ashley Good's final act was to protect the life of her 9-month-old baby. And I just think that is so hard to fathom. It is so hard to comprehend. And like everyone, you know, my heart aches for her family, for her partner who was left behind, and everyone who has lost someone in this terrible tragedy this morning.
That's exactly right.
There is so much pain and so much trauma being felt right across the city and the country, I think, Sylvia. Thank you for
The world.
And we are learning more about that killer. Andrea Crothers is following that part of the story for us from Ipswich. Andrea, we've heard from those who knew him.
Yeah, as Sylvia said, Joel Cauchi's parents, they've broken their silence. He was very much estranged from his family, but in their statement, they also said they were devastated by the traumatic events and that his actions were horrific, also noting that he'd suffered mental health issues since he was a teenager. They first saw this footage broadcast and actually went to police themselves, believing it was their son involved. So he spent the majority of his life in Toowoomba, before moving away from there. Neighbours of their family home describe him as a troubled teen.
Oh, shocked. When I heard his name this morning, I couldn't believe it, because I'd say hello to him when he'd walk past, and he'd say hello back, you know. He never talked much, but he'd say hello.
He was very much a drifter after that, though, moving around Brisbane, the Gold Coast, as well as here in Ipswich. Police, as they come up here to Queensland to try and piece together exactly what motivation, if any, there was. We'll be looking at all of those things, guys.
Andrea, thank you.
We're also following breaking news from Sydney's north, where a man has died in a multi-vehicle.
Okay, so that's the update this morning. So a sad update about the the Kansas mums. Their bodies have been found, and then just a bit more information about the Sydney stabbings. And I do think that, you know, obviously it's a very sad story, but there are some positive stories out of that. The bravery of people, the police woman, how brave she was, and there are positive things that we can take from that. We have to remember, you know, there is such a lot of, sometimes, you know, thank God there's so much tragedy in the world, it can be depressing, but there's always as well positive things. You know, most people would not dream of doing anything like that, any of these things. That's why we're so outraged about it. You know, because quite often I think, why am I so interested in like true crime and things like that? Because sometimes it is just plain depressing, isn't it? But I think we're fascinated because we cannot believe that somebody could do these things, and we want to find answers, don't we? There's a psychological need in us to find answers why people do things like this. But, you know, I think with Joel, there may end up not really being an answer, just that he broke, you know, just like your leg can break, his mind broke. You know, it's part of, I think mental health is totally underestimated, just how dangerous it is. It's as dangerous as cancer. It's as dangerous as anything else that can affect you, can kill you. But it's probably even worse because, you know, if you have cancer, you may lose your life, but it doesn't normally involve taking other people's lives, does it? Whereas mental health issues often take other people's lives with them, like that Robert Card in America. That was a similar case. He used a gun, though, of course. You know, sometimes when people just snap for whatever reason, they decide they're going to take as many people with them as they can. Look at the pilot who crashed the plane because he wanted to kill himself. He used the plane to kill himself and ended up killing loads of other people as well. You know, so this is it. So it's even more lethal than cancer and those sort of illnesses, etc. Because quite often these people decide to take other lives with them. Okay, so I'm going now. I hope you have a good Monday, good, you know, morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you, as always, very soon in the next video. So remember to live and love wisely, carefully, and as always, may your God go with you. Thank you.